New York City has just approved an historic $3.5 billion plan to transform the Brooklyn Marine Terminal in Red Hook into a modern maritime port with new housing, green space, and expanded cargo operations.
Joining us this morning to talk more about the project is Andrew Kimball, President and CEO of the New York City Economic Development Corporation. So good to have you back.
Great to be here.
So the plan's been described, right, as a generational opportunity for this area on the Brooklyn waterfront. Can you explain how?
Let me just say, as a lifelong New Yorker, somebody who's been in and around economic development for 30 years, I couldn't be prouder of the way New Yorkers, particularly New Yorkers in this community, stood up and said, yes, in my backyard. A coalition of labor unionists, maritime workers, leaders from the NYCHA houses, homeowners who said, yes, we need housing in our backyard, we need density, all came together to approve this. You know, it's very hard to get New Yorkers to agree on anything, much less a group of people to agree on 2/3. We got 2/3 of this vote, and we are moving this project forward, and it's a great moment for New York.
I mean, it's very ambitious. I mean, you're trying to keep the port busy and operating. You're talking about housing. You're talking about resiliency. How do you get all of that to work together? That's a lot.
It's not the 1950s anymore, and it's taken us a while to realize that. You can have a modern all-electric port that's quiet, that's efficient, and that's entirely focused on getting trucks off the street. This isn't being set up to compete with the massive ports in Bayonne and Newark. It is focused on micro-mobility and moving goods around the harbor. We need to get trucks off of our roads. There are 12,000 that come across the bridges every day into the 5 boroughs. We need to limit that. That has terrible health impacts. It has terrible traffic and economic impacts. If we're going to have a modern city, we need to do this. And we also, of course, have an affordability crisis and a housing crisis. And to build 6,000 units of housing, 2,400 of which are deeply affordable, permanently affordable at 60% of AMI, it's just extraordinary.
Explain that a little more for somebody who may be wondering what exactly that means when you say affordable.
Yeah, that means somebody in the range of $60,000 to $70,000 a year for a family. That is deeply affordable in the city. And 2,400 units. They'll access it as we build different portions of the site, and we'll work with HPD on lottery. But what's also important here is that we've made a deep commitment to the local community. $200 million going to the NYCHA houses, preference for NYCHA residents who want to move into this new complex, and then the jobs. So a young person who's in elementary school today, whose family lives in the NYCHA residence, the Red Hook houses, may be able to get a really good paying job right on the waterfront in the future.
And how much did the community shape what this plan was?
It shaped it a lot. And these processes are hard. EDC's been doing them for years. We think in generations, not in election cycles. And it takes a lot of input. And there was frustration along the way. There was hashing out the details. But again, what's extraordinary is that 2/3 of New Yorkers came together. Some very bold elected officials who said, yes, we have to show government's working. We have to get this done.
Yeah, and so realistically for a timeline, right? Because it may or may not be under this administration that shovels are in the ground. What's a timeline? Because you still have some more hearings, public hearings about it before you actually see some progress.
Yeah, there's a lot more work to be done. This is one big hurdle in a journey. So we are now moving into the state general project plan process. Ultimately, that will go in about a year and a half to the Public Authorities Control Board, which is represented by the governor and the leaders of the 2 houses in Albany. But along the way, we're going to set up a development corporation that will be served by EDC, that will be, again, made up of local representatives and representatives, the mayor and the governor, to guide this through the process.
So can you explain to somebody who might be looking at this saying, okay, well, we're in an election year. If there's a new mayor next year, will this be set in stone to continue? Do you still have a job if the Mayor Adams isn't the mayor?
Again, EDC thinks in generations, not in 4-year cycles. And so whether it's Cornell Tech or Hudson Yards or rebuilding Hunts Point or Willets Point in Queens, we have to think long term. And our team is highly professional, and we do this over multiple administrations. So look, the next mayor will have a huge say in this project, because we will set up this development corporation board. We're confident that working with the governor and the community, we'll get to the right place.